let's continue with the next topic in CSS. So nth child property. So whenever you have multiple elements, suppose if you take an unordered list, here we are going to mention some list items, right? Suppose if you have an unordered list like this, in this especially first element and third element need to have some background color. Okay, so at that time you can do one thing here. We can write the style. So now you have to write, if you write li, so li tag is not going to be found directly, correct? So you need to write ul space li, that means inside unordered list tag. So whenever you have li tag, so first let us apply some common property. Suppose if I want to apply color should be black. By default it's going to be in black only. I am going to make it to blue here. So let's execute. So now you can see every element is going to be in blue color, right? But specifically maybe first item or third item or something, if you want to apply some additional properties, so at that time you can write like this, colon nth child. So you have an option nth child. So inside that, so you can apply some additional attributes, maybe color, size or something. So nth child of which child? Suppose if I mention 3, so now you can see this third element is going to be having some additional CSS properties. So this is the advantage of nth child. So you can target a specific element. So comma is not going to be accepted. You can write a comma here. Again ul space li of, you can write nth child of suppose 4. Then third and fourth elements will get some CSS properties common. So this is how you can able to target any specific CSS attribute. So with the help of the finding the element by using nth child. Similarly, so we have an option called first letter. So suppose if you have a paragraph example, so I am going to write some 25 characters of content here. So here if I want to apply any property, so in this particular paragraph tag, so if you see the output, this is the output actually. So now I want to target this first letter example. So then I can write like this. So here P double colon. So there is an option called first letter. So for first letter we can apply some CSS property. So maybe I can increase the font size to 36 pixels. Font weight some 900. So then it's going to look like this. So this is how you can able to target any specific letter or the start letter of the paragraph, start letter of the heading tag. So you can able to pass some CSS properties here. So that's the advantage. Next, similarly, if we have one more paragraph, so now this is also will get the same CSS, but I am giving some ID here P1. So for the first paragraph P1 ID, so I want to pass some CSS property for the first line of paragraph. So then we are going to use hash P1. So whichever the ID that contains P1 property that can have some CSS properties. Here we need to add the attributes. So that is what first line. So the first line of P1 ID, so you can have some property. So font size some 22 pixels and color should be some blue color. So then it's going to be like this. So this is how you can either target the first letter, or else you can target the first line. So that is possible with this particular two properties, first letter and first line. Okay, so these are going to be called as pseudo elements. Okay, next point. So whenever you want to apply CSS properties irrespective of the technology, irrespective of the HTML tag, so at that time let's see how it is possible. So suppose if you have a HTML document here, so we are going to write some h1 tag, sample text, h2 sample text, and here we have a paragraph tag. Example, you can see these three are three different tags. Now for all of the tags I want to apply some CSS properties as common. Now you can see this is the output, h1, h2, and it's a paragraph. So if you want to apply some common properties here, so then you can do one thing. As of now we are applying styles either based on the tag name or else based on the ID of the element, or else we are going to take some children nodes like this, parent node followed by children node. So now we have an additional option where you are going to apply styles irrespective of the tag name. That is what we can call it as CSS class name. Suppose text hyphen red. So suppose this is my class name. We can, whenever you have dot, so that is going to represent a class here. So now here I am going to apply color is some red. Not only color, you can write any property, margin, padding, anything. So now if I want to apply this color red for all these particular, you can write class equal to class name. So here also same, class name, class name. Save this one. Now after this, if you refresh, all of them are going to have the same red color text. Even you can apply uniform font size irrespective of the tag. So font size 20 pixel. So then each and every tag will have the same. Now you can see all looks equal, right? So whenever you want to apply CSS styles irrespective of the tag name, irrespective of the tag type, sorry. So then we are going to use CSS classes like this. So especially whenever we are working with React or Angular, any real-time projects, so people used to apply styles based on the CSS classes only. They are not going to prefer to write based on the tag until and unless it's a mandatory requirement. Okay, so out of the CSS selectors, whatever we have discussed so far, so we can apply CSS styles based on the tag name, second one ID of the element, third one children nodes, fourth one the CSS class name. So these are the different options that we have to apply the CSS styles. Okay, clear as of any questions? Okay, next one. Maybe sometimes, especially whenever people are designing the title or something, so if they want to apply two colors in a same tag, so now you can see here I have h1 tag. Okay, no problem. H1 tag, sample text, so if you have like this, So normally if you apply any CSS styles, whenever it comes h1, maybe it will disturb the remaining. id is equal to head1. So then based on id, if I want to apply the CSS styles head1, so let me apply some color. So color is some cyan. It looks like this. Now I want to highlight either sample or text or anything. So I hope you remember at the time of HTML I said there is an inline tag called span. So now we are going to keep this. Now if I want to apply any CSS properties only for this partial text, so then you can write hash head1 followed by a span tag. Then you can either apply color or size or something. So then it looks like this. Even in case of paragraph also we can do the same thing. So whenever if you want to target some specific properties, then we can use span. Span is inline tag. So if you add that, that is not going to take new line, right? So inside the same line we can able to apply the styles. That's the advantage of span tag. So div can be called as block tag, span can be called as inline tag. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next, suppose whenever we are working with anchor tag, href equal to some http www.google.com. So Google. So what we can write for anchor tags? As of now, nobody tried it, I think so. So whenever we have an anchor tag, so first you can decide what is the color of the link. So color of the link by default it's going to be blue color. So maybe I can write green. So this is one option. So after clicking this, and if you come back to the link, so this color is not going to be changed. So that can be modified. Now you can see anchor. So visited. So then I can change to color red or something. So now you can see if this link is already clicked and if you are coming back to the link, so this is going to be changing. You can change any property, not only color, size or something, anything can be done. Okay, is it clear? Okay, next let's see. So let us work on some images. If we have a div, inside that if you have some, or else let's take an image. This is also fine, src equal to, so here I am going to get some image. I am going to add some image URL. I think hover already covered, but anyhow, let me try to show you the same example. whenever hash d1, if you go ahead with h over, so here normally if you see the output of this image, so it will display like this. Let me add for the regular div hash d1. So I am going to apply border 1 pixel solid red color or something, so that it is going to be visible. So now whenever you make h over, so you can add padding 5%. Let's see this. So like that you can perform any h over attribute whenever you take mouse on top of any image, any text. So any tag you can use h over. When mouse was taken on top of the element, so we can change the CSS properties. Okay. So remaining CSS properties I will cover after the JavaScript. Okay. Now let us start JavaScript. Anybody want to give demo today? Okay. Now we are going to work with JavaScript. So basically this JavaScript was introduced to add actions to the HTML page. So the basic purpose of JavaScript is to add actions to the HTML page. Why? Because with a HTML page we can able to create form elements like input, select, button, radio button and all those, but we cannot perform any kind of action. Suppose if you have two input elements, we not even able to perform addition operation. So that is the reason. So with these scripting languages, not only JavaScript, we have lot many scripts are there as a competitors of JavaScript. So we are going to use these scripting languages to add actions to the HTML page. So we have multiple scripting languages. The very famous are VB script, JavaScript, Perl script, Python script, and now we have TypeScript. So TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. It is built on top of JavaScript only. So it is going to use JavaScript, but on top of that they have added their own technology. So TypeScript is from Microsoft company. So TypeScript is also an advanced version of JavaScript, you can call. So this is done by another company. So normally the developers of JavaScript, they have implemented the advanced versions of JavaScript by including OOPS concepts into the JavaScript, and they have created new language called ECMAScript. So in short form, people used to call it as ES. So now current version is 7. So ES7. So this is very essential for the people who want to work with either React or Angular kind of languages. So they need to aware about either ES or TypeScript. Okay. So these are the current leading versions of JavaScript. So JavaScript was introduced very long back, but till now there is no alternative and replacement for that. And even every browser is also going to support JavaScript nowadays. Earlier, so the browsers are going to restrict to run any of the scripting languages. But nowadays, every browser is JavaScript ready. So we no need to worry about whether the browsers are going to allow the scripting or not. And one more thing, first before going to understand what is JavaScript and all those, so what is scripting language? Okay. So what is script actually? So what is going to be the difference between Java and JavaScript? Are these two are same, or do we have any differences? That you need to understand. So Java is a programming language. Java is a programming language which can develop all categories of applications like console application, Windows application, web application and mobile application. It can able to create all four categories of applications. But whereas JavaScript is a dependent language, you can call it is add-on language, not only JavaScript. These all old generation scripting languages, these all can run whenever you have a HTML document. So without HTML document, these scripting languages are not going to be executed. But Java is not like that. It can run by its own. That is point number 1. Point number 2, so JavaScript is going to be executable whenever it is going to be run along with HTML. That is the point number 1, right? So in point number 2, so this JavaScript is going to add actions to the existing HTML code, and that can able to create only web applications. But Java is not like that. As I said, it is going to develop mobile and web and console applications also. But JavaScript is limited for only web applications. Then why they are using VB language name, Java name, Perl name, Python name means, so these scripting languages have influenced from syntaxes of these scripting languages have influenced from the basic core languages. So JavaScript was influenced from Java syntaxes, VB script was influenced from Visual Basic language syntaxes, this Perl is also from Perl language, Python script is also from Python language. So they are going to use that kind of similar syntaxes so that the developers can learn easily. Okay, so that is the reason they are using the word Java in their name. Okay, so that's what JavaScript. So nowadays, as I said, JavaScript is outdated. Either you can learn TypeScript or ES7. Any one should be perfect. So if you want to go ahead with Angular language, so Angular, so TypeScript is essential. In case if you want to go ahead with Vue.js or React.js, ES6 or ES7 syntaxes are required. So these all are dependent on JavaScript only. Okay, is it clear? Any doubts? Okay, next. So however, CSS is going to be implemented in three ways, like inline styling, internal styling and external styling. These scripting languages also, they can be implemented either like inline scripting, internal scripting and external scripting. So like this you can able to implement the scripting. So as I said, it need to be part of our HTML document, or else it need to be linked with our HTML document. So we cannot run JavaScript directly. As I said, Java can run independently, but JavaScript cannot. So that point we have to remember. So how this JavaScript is going to provide actions to the HTML document? So that is what we can call it is events. That is going to use events here. So JavaScript has implemented some new events to execute on every user action. So it is going to execute some event action. So we have, suppose, on load. This is a function. So at the time of loading any of the HTML element, we can able to call some JavaScript code. On load means whenever our HTML element is going to be executing inside the web browser, at that time you can able to create or execute some JavaScript code. So that is what we can call it as event. Okay, so user action is loading the element in browser. Suppose on load, on click, that means that means user is going to, whenever he is going to click on any of the input element or button or any HTML element or div or something, so on that action you can execute some JavaScript code. That is what the event on click. So next, on DBL click, whenever user is double clicking on any of the element like button or div or something, again it is going to execute some JavaScript code. That is the purpose of double click event. Next, on key press, whenever user is pressing any key from the keyboard inside an input element, so at that time you can target a specific JavaScript code or JavaScript function. On key up, that means if I am going to type A in my keyboard, I have typed A. After that, while releasing my key from the letter of A, so at that time I can execute some JavaScript code. That is what we can call the event called on key up. Next, on key down, while pressing the key from the keyboard, if you want to execute something, so then you can use this event on key down. So these three are relevant to keys from the keyboard. Now similarly, on mouse over, whenever you are taking mouse on top of element, so we have seen H over, right? That is exactly similar to it. So whenever I take mouse on top of any element, div or paragraph or H1 or anything, even button, so if you want to execute something, so then you can use the event on mouse over. On mouse out, whenever you are taking mouse away from the element, so while leaving, at that time you can execute some action, so then we are going to use on mouse out event. Okay, so like that we have several events are there. Going forward we can cover one after another. Is the concept is clear? So these are events, these will execute JavaScript code. Clear? Any questions? Okay. Next point. So JavaScript is also going to have error handling. JavaScript is also will use some predefined classes or APIs we can call. So basically we have window class and document class. There will be two classes available. One is window, another one is going to document. So window will deal with the properties of the current executing window of the browser. Document is going to deal with the internal content of the window. Okay, so now we are going to have a simple demo on load. What is the window class function is available for us. So first let's go to VS Code. I'm going to create a HTML page here. So let us generate the HTML syntax. So here in the body tag I am going to call the event on load. That means when body tag is rendering in the browser, executing in the browser, so then you can execute some JavaScript code. So in window class, window is a class, in that there is a function called alert. So this is going to be displaying some whatever the content that you are going to write inside alert. So since we are in already double quotes, you cannot use double quotes inside at this scenario. So you need to use only single quote. So here you can type something. It's like our console dot write line in C sharp language. So it is going to print something on the console, but here alert is going to display it as a prompt window, or else some message box you can call. So now you can see you no need to do anything. When in the body tag is getting loaded, you can see still it is going to refresh, so it is not loaded completely. So at that time you can execute some JavaScript code. So but here I am executing that. I want to greet user, so I want to show some window that is going to prompt to the user. If I click OK, then you can see it is fully loaded. So if you refresh every time, this onload is going to be triggering. So this is the purpose of onload. And one more thing, so inside this window class we have this alert function, right? But nowadays browsers are able to understand direct alert function. Even without that window also we can able to see the output like this. So this is the purpose of onload event, and this is how you can execute alert function. The same thing in case if you want to implement inline, instead of inline, if you want to implement internal scripting, so we are going to use a script tag. We are going to use a script tag. So directly we can execute, it won't give any error, but as I said, we have several scripting languages are available, right? So we need to give a clarity to the browser what kind of script it is. So that is the reason type is equal to text or JavaScript, that I am going to type. But I am saying 100%, without this also it is going to execute. So now if you want to make the same code with internal scripting, then we can write function, some function name, show message. There I am going to execute the same alert function. So now whenever it is on load, so then I can call this show message. But if you see the output, there is no difference. Then why we need to prefer this internal scripting? So let's do one thing. Here if I have a button, so for the button also, whenever you click on the button, on click, so you can able to call the same function. Now you can see while loading it is going to be displayed, and even when you click on the button, at that time also the same script will run. Okay, so that means this function is going to be executing more than once. That's what we can call it as code reusability. Code reusability. So instead of writing inline every time copy pasting, so if you write it inside the script tag, you can reuse this function for several times. If you have one more button also, that is also can do the same purpose, right? So now we have onload. After that we have two buttons. This is also will do the same thing. This is also will do the same thing. So this is the advantage of internal scripting. Okay. Now let's see external scripting. However, CSS styles are going to be returned inside a .css file. The scripts also you can create a separate file called .js. So here I am going to create a new folder. So scripts, inside that my script.js, extension should be .js. So the same code whatever we wrote here, you can simply move this to a new file. That's it. Now advantage over writing it in a separate file is the same script whatever we wrote we can use for the entire website. In each and every web page you can able to use it. So this is 100% reusable, right? So now wherever you want to use that script, you need to write a script tag like the same. Additionally, you have to mention src where it is located. So inside scripts, my script.js. That's it. You just need to add this tag. So then whatever the functions, how many functions that you are going to write here, so these are going to be accessible to the page. it is going to give you the same output. You can see no difference at all. So this is the advantage of maintaining external scripting. So whenever we are working for corporate companies, so we need to work like we need to prefer for external CSS and external JavaScript only. So that's about the different types of having the scriptings: inline, internal and external. Any questions?